Number of free index, for example, if no free index in an expression, then you can simply say this quantity is a scalar. Example, the dot product of two vector you are getting as ui vi, and this ui vi in expanded form, it is nothing but u1 v1 plus u2 v2 plus u3 v3. So this is what all are the scalar, the summation over the scalar quantity. So this is a scalar, and here you see there are only one index, that is I, and this is dummy index. There is a no free index, so this represent actually a scalar quantity. Then if one free index, then it will represent a vector quantity. So here if you see this aij xj is equal to yi, just I have interchanged this indices, this representing actually vector quantity, where x1 x2 x3 are a one vector and y1 y2 y3 are another, the component of the vector quantity by vector by. Okay, then if there are two free indices, then it is a second order tensor quantity. Second order tensor quantity. And just I have given example Tij or sigma ij or epsilon ij. These are the example of second order tensor. Then we can have third order tensor. You will have the three free indices. Fourth order tensor, you will have four free indices. Okay, so by looking the free indices, we can say that okay, this could be a vector equation, this could be a second order quantity, the second order tensor quantity. But again, we have to be careful because Kronecker delta is also having the two free indices, but it does not satisfy the criteria of being a tensor. Okay, now we will see this a ij xj is equal to yi, this equation. Okay, so this equation, this, if any equation you are expressing using the indexes, then the equation is known as, or the notation is known as indicial notation form. Indicial form, you can say. The similar equation, the same equation I can write as a and a matrix, and this form is the same. This is, both equations are same, but the different representation. Then this is denoted as the matrix notation. Okay, and simply a x is equal to by, then this is tensor notation or symbolic notation. So these are the terminology actually in textbook you will find. So you should not get confused. That's why I am discussing this. This is symbolic notation. Whatever notation it is, we have to understand what is its actual meaning. So if you further see this actual meaning of this, then let's write all the component A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23, A31, A32, A33, and then you have multiplied this with a vector x1, x2, x3, and you are getting y1, y2, and y3. So if you see what is happening actually, A is here a operator. You are giving an input as x1, x2, x3, and you are getting y1, y2, y3. So there is a mapping is being done by the A. So is simply, if you remember your 12th standard mathematics, that is nothing but in a function A map the x to y. And if you see in your, just we have seen that when we have done the tv is equal to tu is equal to, let's say, some another vector, then we are doing the dot product with the tensor and a vector, we are getting another vector. So our tensor quantity is also linearly mapping one vector to another vector. So all the concept of the linear algebra, more or less, are valid in this case. So this tensor product, the tensor quantity, is doing nothing but it is doing the linear mapping from one vector to another set of vectors, okay, in RQ space. So this is here RQ, it is doing the operation on RQ space because we have the Cartesian coordinate system. And when we will discuss the stress concept of a stress, you will see this how the stress is a tensor. This is just doing the linear mapping from the normal vector to the traction vector. So I think tomorrow or next class we will have the detailed discussion on the property of the stress component as a tensorial form. Okay, so do you have any question? So please ask, and then we will have a small break, and then we will start another topic. Any question, please?
Sir, is there any geometrical representation of tensor, like what we
Yes,
present in
the
vector?
stress, what we have discussed, the
Yes,
stress component, we have seen the geometrical representation as well. And in order to see that how the mapping is being done,
yes.
that geometrical representation also we will see when we will learn the concept of stress at a point, that actually what this stress is, what actually this stress is doing, from where it evolved, how we will what actually we will get by using this stress component. So we will see all these things, and there you will see that it's also have a geometrical interpretation. Okay,
Okay, okay, sir. Okay.
any other question? Question, please. Oh, if no question, then we will take around 5 minute break, and then I will start a new topic, transformation of Cartesian tensor, and we will see what are the concept in this. Okay, so the time is 12:37. We will meet at 12:42. Okay. Okay. So shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now we will see that the concept related to the transformation of Cartesian tensor. Okay. Transformation of Cartesian tensor. Cartesian tensors means we are using x by z space. That's why it is Cartesian tensor. If you will use the polar coordinate system, then we have to handle accordingly. So far our discussion is with respect to x1, x2, and x3 coordinate system. That's why I have written Cartesian tensor. Okay. Now, as we have seen that the physical quantity, whether it is a vector, scalar, and tensor, these actually does not depend on coordinate system, because this is a physical quantity. Coordinate system is a relative position of an observer. So the physical quantity should not depend on this, because if we are changing the relative position of an observer, so that quantity will not get changed. But the component, if we are defining or describing that physical quantity with respect to some coordinate system, then the component of that quantity will depend on coordinate system. So if we are having a vector b, for example, if we are observing this vector v or describing this vector v with respect to x1, x2, and x2, x3 coordinate system. If I rotate this coordinate system, then the component of the same vector will be different than what we got in the previous set of coordinate system. So if this is so, then how do we determine the component in another set of vector, rotated set of vector, transformed set of vector? That we will see what is the relation between these things. So let's consider a coordinate system. We have, let's say, here x1, x2, and x3. Here I just made a change. Instead of starting the x1 from here, I started here. But again, we are following anti-clockwise, then it is okay. Order is okay, x1, x2, x3. Now this is O, x1, x2, x3, we have a coordinate system. Now let's another coordinate system. This coordinate system gets rotated, and now we are having x1 prime, x2 prime, and let's say this is x3 prime. So we are having one coordinate system, ux1, x2, x3, and another coordinate system, o, x1 prime, x2 prime, x3 prime. Okay. Now what we have done, we rotated this coordinate system, keeping the origin same. We have rotated this coordinate system. Now the condition that the x1, x2, and x3 should be perpendicular to each other, that must be satisfied here also. That condition we cannot change, because this is what the three independent bases required in a geometrical space. So though in diagram it may not look like these are the perpendicular, but perpendicularity condition is there. So now we will see that if this is so, if we have a vector in this space, vector v, earlier we have defined this vector v in O, x1, x2, x3 space, and we got some component v1, v2, v3. Now if I want to get that what is v1 dash, v2 dash, v3 dash means component of this vector in new set of coordinate system, then how do we do that? Okay, before going to establish the relation, first I will discuss or describe that what is directional cosine. I think every one of you might know this, but again I will revise and then I will move forward. So direction cosine, because we will use this concept. Okay, so let's consider a space. We have x1, x2, x3. Let's consider a vector v, and here we will have the base vector of this, e1 cap, e2 cap, and this is e3 cap. Okay, now this, and also we can say that there is a unit vector along the vector v is ev cap also exists. This is the vector, unit vector along vector v, defining vector v. Now this vector will make angle with x1, x2, and x3 axis. So let's say this angle is a with x1, this is with x2 it is b, and this is c. Okay, and this the unit vector EV is defined as vector V divided by its magnitude. Okay. Now, if I want to get the component of this vector along this, okay, so this, can I write V1 is equal to V dot product with E1, and this is, from our knowledge, it can be written as E1 cap, and this is cos angle between these two. So angle between these two is A. So this is what? This is 1. So it is finally the V magnitude of vector V cos alpha. So, and sorry, cos A. So this cos A is V divided by V1 divided by this. This cos alpha. Similarly, we will have cos B. This is V2 upon V. Similarly, cos C, this is V3 upon the magnitude of vector V. So this cos alpha, if I am denoting as a cos A, sorry, cos A, this beta as a cos B, and gamma as a cos C. These are termed as direction cosines. Direction cosines. Okay. So I can also write this A as, if you allow me, then I can write this A as angle between EV with E1. Okay. Similarly, B as angle between EV. EV is the unit vector along vector V with E2, and gamma is cos EV with the along x3, so E3 cap. So we can write this. Now this alpha, beta, and gamma has a property, and this property is what? This property, if you write alpha square plus beta square plus gamma square, this is equal to 1. So this condition must be satisfied if these are the direction cosines. Okay. If you remember in the last class when I discussed that if I am considering some surface and the normal vector is n is also a unit vector, and then I wrote ni is equal to 1. When you prove that a vector can be decomposed along its normal to the plane and parallel to the plane, the normal component and shear component, there we have used this relation. This is what this direction cosine is. This n1, n2, actually nothing but the direction cosines, and that's why we have done this. So this, how it is, because if I am considering any coordinate system here, for example x1, x2, x3, then this n cap can be represented as n1 e1 cap plus n2 e2 cap plus n3 e3 cap. And what is actually n? N1 is nothing but n1 dot e1 upon n1 dot e1, and so on. So this is nothing but the direction cosines, and that is why we are doing this n1 square plus n1 square plus n2 square plus n3 square is equal to 1. So this is the concept of direction cosines. Now we will see how we are going to use this for transformation of the Cartesian tensor. So again, we will consider the first OX1, X2 space. This is X1, X2, and this is X3. Along this you have E3 cap, E2 cap, and you have E1 cap. Then we will have a rotated system. This is, let's say, x1 dash. For example, this is x2 dash, and this is what we have, x3 dash. Okay. Now, this is our system. Now here we will have E1 cap dash are the base vector. For this, E2 cap are the base vector, and for this it is E3 cap are the base vector. E3 cap dash are the base vector. So you see, we have rotated the Cartesian coordinate system, keeping the origin same. We have rotated it. Angle could be anything. Okay. So let's, for example, we will deal one by one. First, let's consider the x1 dash. Now, x1 dash is also a kind of a vector for me, of which the unit vector is E1 dash cap, and this is making angle with the coordinate system, the previous coordinate system. Let's say one coordinate system O, x1, x2, x3. If I say this unprimed coordinate system, just for reference, unprimed one, and O, x1 dash, x2 dash, x3 is a primed coordinate system, because we have used the dash term here. So that is unprimed and primed, we will tell this. So now if you see, this x1 dash is making angle with the x1, x2 and x3. So for example, this is what angle is with x1, this is angle with x2, and this is the angle with x3. So actually this is also a kind of a directional cosine. We can establish the directional cosines here, and here you will have cos E1 dash cap with E1 cap. Okay, this angle cos term, we can say, if you are talking the angle, then you inverse. Here I am simply writing the cos term. Let me write the angle term. So the angle is cos inverse EI cap with E2, and here this angle is cos inverse EI cap E3. So here we have just considered first the x1 dash and how it is in O, x1, x2, x3 space, and with respect to that, each axis, with respect to each axis, we have measured that what angle it is making. Okay, and these are the term what we have defined. So here we can say that that let's say A11, the directional cosine, can be defined as cos EI dash E1 dash. Another A12, this is cos angle between the rotated one axis and the with the E2. A13, this is cos angle between 1A dash and E3. Okay, so this is similarly we can also establish these are the directional cosine for x2 dash and x3 dash also, direction cosines. Okay, and then we can also express, using this directional cosine, we can also express the set of the rotated axis. Okay, so so far, is there any question? Please ask question if you have. No question? Shall I call name? Animes?
Sir,
Yeah.
with these cosines, the new cosines that we have defined, new angles,
Yes.
we will represent the new vectors using
So
them.
here the primed one is the new vector.
So it primed one is the new coordinate system, and if we need to represent a vector with respect to the new coordinate system,
Yes, yes.
how
We will
will
see
it?
that. Yeah, so our objective is even not only the vector, our objective is if it's a tensor, isn't it? So let's say,
Yes, sir.
for example, uh, this is just I have discussed about the coordinate system. It is rotated, and how the rotated one can be represented or can be expressed with the initial coordinate system that we have seen, and we will see also. Not it's a completed. So let's say there is a vector v. So this vector, how do we express in our objective is to find the component of this vector in new set of axes to establish the relation. This is what our objective
Yes.
is. So we will see that how to do it in the next class. Okay, Pawan, I think you raised your hand. Please ask your question. Neeraj? Okay, no question. So we have not completed the transformation of Cartesian tensor. We will see in the tomorrow that what is the relation. We have just started. We have discussed that directional cosine concept. We have discussed that if it is rotated, then how to measure that, how to define directional cosines, and so on. Tomorrow we will see that how to get a component of a vector in a new set of axes. And after this, we will also see that how to get a component of a tensor, because when we are writing Tij, Tij means with respect to some coordinate system. And the component, the value T11, T12, T13, and so on, these values depend on this coordinate system. If I rotate x1 dash, x2 dash, x3 dash, then now we have T11 dash, T12 dash, T13 dash, and so on. So what is the relation between this the primed one with unprimed one? We will establish this relation, and then this relation must be satisfied in order to qualify any physical quantity as a tensor. Otherwise, we cannot say the physical quantity as a tensor. Okay, so yeah.
I
Yes.
have a question. If the coordinates are transferred from x1 to x1 dash, then the tensor will be invariant about the coordinate transformation, or it depends upon the coordinate transformation?
Tensor is independent of coordinate system, but its component will depend. Now, it seems a paradox. Whether it is how can we say that? Now, how do we check that? Let's say I am finding the component of a given vector or tensor in with respect to x1, x2, x3 coordinate system. I will have 9 components. Fine.
Yes.
Now we will rotate this coordinate system, or we will have a new set of coordinate system x1 dash, x2 dash, x3 dash. Now our component will be different. It should be, because we have rotated it. The component will be different. Now, if I am finding some invariant, let's say in case of vector, magnitude. So simple example we will see in tensor when we will study the concept of invariant. We will see. Now let's consider v vector. V vector, I can define this v vector as vi cap plus e2 cap plus v3 e3 cap. This is with respect to the coordinate system O x1, x2, x3. Okay. Now the same vector I can write in new set of coordinate system as vi cap plus v2 dash e2 cap plus v3 dash e3 cap dash, and this is with respect to the new set of axes. Okay. And so here, if you see, the v1, v2, and v3 are the component of the vector v in x1, x2. v1 dash, v2 dash, v3 dash, component of this vector o x1 dash, x2 dash, x3 dash. Fine. So obviously these two will not be equal. No, it is not possible. Only equality will be valid, then there is a no rotation. If there is a rotation, the transformation occurred, then it will not equal. Then how can I say that this vector will equal? In order to say this, let's find the magnitude. So magnitude you will get v1 square plus v2 square plus v3 square. It should be equal to v1 dash square plus v2 dash square plus v3 dash. Isn't it? Is not this vector same? This condition actually also tells us that the vector is invariant of coordinate system because its magnitude does not get changed. It's the effect will not change. If force we are applying, effect will not change. Final effect, whatever the displacement, deformation acting, that is not changed by considering our the vector is invariant. By considering the different coordinate system. This coordinate system is just a convenient for an observer who is observing and describing the phenomena with respect to some coordinate system. That's all. The relative position of an observer. But it will not change. Similarly, in tensor you will find various invariants that like the summation of diagonal term of a matrix. It will not change by changing the coordinate system. So we will also see these, and that's why this invariant is, I think now it is clear to you. Is it clear
Yes.
to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question, then please ask, then we will stop today's lecture. No question? So fine. Have a nice day, and I'm stopping today's lecture. Tomorrow we will meet with this. We will establish the relation for transformation of Cartesian tensor, and we will see few more new concepts. Okay. Have a nice day. Thank you.